All right, good morning. Let's start this City of Cross Lake special meeting, October 21st, it's 9 a.m.
No agenda.
There is not an agenda, so what should we start with? Lori, do you have a,
Why don't we have an agenda?
I don't think one was made.
Well,
Char is coming back and she was going to grab that special meeting posting.
oh, okay.
I guess Mayor, I guess you got control. Hit it.
Is that what you want me to read off? Pursuant to due notice and call, the City Council will hold a special meeting Monday, October 21st at 9 a.m. Purpose, reviewing short-term rental ordinance. Second, additional personal storage zoning district. Third, reviewing city administrator's contract. And the fourth one is scratched,
What's the fourth one?
approving Rolling Woods final plat.
Doing what?
Approving Rolling Woods final plat. Scratched, it's not ready. So let's start out with the short-term rentals. Who's gonna? Sandy, you got something?
No, I just said I'm ready.
Okay, you're ready, all wired up.
Woo! It's got to be what, 3 o'clock there in Switzerland?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. Close
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
So, Chip, do you want me to put you on the spot to run through it? No?
So, is it just?
So,
Unfortunately, I did not.
It's this one. Yeah.
Is this draft in front of us from the attorney?
so the personal storage, let's just go, the purple in there is the proposed changes.
I thought we're doing short-term rental first, Dave.
Oh, what am I on?
So what you have in front,
Short-term rentals?
what you have in front of you is the draft, and then also Joseph's suggested changes or questions or comments on the revised ordinance. He did make one change in the draft in the sale transfer, but the rest of it, I will defer to him to explain what he's asking or questioning or concerned about.
Okay, so Joe, going off of your notes, your email you sent out. Okay, see this?
Yeah, so the first one there, the first bullet point is pretty straightforward. That was just to get from the word resident to the word owner. In terms of a change of owner is a sale transfer, although that term isn't even used in this ordinance, so I'm not sure of what relevance the whole term is. Going to section 23-5F. It's highlighted in here. So my point there was improved surface areas, not, they're not required nor are they defined. And so I just had a question there for the council. Does the city want to insist on improved surface areas for short-term rentals? Some smaller communities, they don't all have that sort of thing at these places. That doesn't mean you can't require them, but
That's a pretty important thing here,
to have or not to have?
to have.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because otherwise you end up with people parking kind of pretty much anywhere.
Right.
Which can include front yards and whatnot. So what we would do then is define what an improved surface area is. Do you guys consider that to be asphalt, concrete, any kind of hard surface, pavers? Any of that acceptable?
pavers,
As long as
unless
it's
they're
not gravel or
impervious,
dirt?
class 5 is a hard surface.
So class 5 is okay?
No, that's
Okay.
part of it.
Isn't that impervious?
It is,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think what he was talking about is you can get the pavers where the water goes down through. And as long as they have a contract where they can maintain them, then those are okay to be impervious.
We will acknowledge
So are we saying they
that's
can
it.
or can't park on class 5?
they can.
Okay, that's why I wanted to make.
Part of the impervious calculation.
Yes, right, correct.
In my thoughts, a improved service area is basically a designated area to park a car.
Right.
Sufficient enough to cover the amount of people that are staying there.
And that is required for your health safety inspection.
It's not a life safety inspection, but it's part of the inspection that you all wanted
Part
to
of
do.
the inspection, yeah.
Correct.
Gravel, asphalt, concrete, pavers or no pavers?
Well, pavers, you know, they've got an impervious paver now that'll supposedly let the water through it.
But that, they can park on on those pavers. I misinterpreted what he was saying.
Are you basically saying anything but the grass?
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay?
because there's enough driveways in this community that are all pavers.
And specifically not on septic system, drain fields, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now you're digging too deep here.
Yeah, the pavers issue, to me, becomes more of an impervious calculation issue
Yeah, but
than
paver,
it is parking.
pavers.
Correct.
Class 5, that's all impervious. I mean, yeah, impervious.
Yeah, I had a discussion about this with the DNR years ago on lakefront property. When
part of your calculation.
Somebody replaced a driveway with their pervious pavers.
Yep.
Okay? So they're basically pavers with cut corners on them, so that in any group of four, there's a hole.
And there's geogrids for grass to go through.
Yeah, and they work if they're maintained. So those holes have to be kept
No moss.
kept clean. But that's a impervious issue, it's not a parking issue in here.
Correct.
I learned a lot of these.
So for 23-5F then, we'll just have to create a definition here for,
And that would go up here in 22.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, we'll put that up higher up. Okay, the next one was 23-12C. 23-12 is all the enforcement piece.
So, Joe, I've got a question on that. It's suspending a short-term license without due process after a single citation. And we're talking about doing it after a third.
So that's in D. Well, under 23-12D, if the penalty is not paid, this says that the city may summarily suspend the license. That's what I was getting at with my fourth bullet point. A single citation, where does it say in here that you have to wait for 3 of them? Because under E it says regardless of the type of enforcement of the third in any 12, that's two different things, what I've understood this to be, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but 23-12D is if you've already penalized them, they've been given a fine for whatever reason, a citation, and they don't pay it, then this says the city may summarily suspend regardless of 23-12E. So if that's not the intention, then that should be cleared up.
Well, our enforcement to collect a penalty is to crudely put it on their property taxes, right? Just apply it to them. That's our enforcement, if they refuse to pay. This is kind of news to me, that's why I'm questioning, I'm not really disagreeing with it.
Right.
Can't we omit 2312C? Because you have if they're not paying? I mean, do we want to take criminal enforcement? I thought the whole direction was that we wanted them to license, and if they don't license, then we get in the activity of suspending their license or penalizing them. I don't know that I ever heard that we were going to take criminal enforcement. But, you know.
Can we walk through the whole section of violations, just from top to bottom, and go through each one, just so we're not skipping all over the place?
Well, the attorney brought up 2312C, that's why I was there.
What should we get rid of, is basically, how do we do it?
Well, maybe we should back up first. So right now, you've got a system in place, right?
No.
No,
This is all
this
brand
is
new.
fresh.
So let me ask a broader question. What are the issues that you're trying to address with this ordinance? What's of most importance to the council and the staff in terms of addressing short-term rentals?
In the fee schedule, enforcement, you mean?
Well, just more broadly, because not just the fee schedule or the enforcement, but because if I get into enforcement, I want to know why, what am I enforcing, what am I really going after? Is this something that warrants criminal versus civil? See what I'm saying?
So I'll run through a few of them, Joe. Capacity, how many people, that's one thing. Garbage on the street, garbage cans left out, parking, noise.
Life safety.
Getting a license,
I
having a
think we want to
license.
basically say, we want short-term rentals to have a license, and we want them to comply with the things that we've laid out.
Septic. It's the public nuisance part of it is what we're trying to address.
Yeah, but I do think enforcement's got to be a big part of it, only because a lot of these things that you just listed are going on through the county, and they get reported, and then they go into abyss, and nothing ever changes.
Right.
And it's
But-
just offense after offense after offense, and nothing ever gets done.
Right.
And so, for the city to take that on internally, we would then be able to have more teeth in enforcement.
I was told by the county that we were basically in charge of enforcement in the first place, that the county wasn't enforcing, that they were licensing.
Well,
So.
therein lies
I
the
guess it was
issue,
always
because
in our lap.
if we're not running the VRBOs, we can't really do enforcement unless it's a police issue. So if the county is saying, well, we're not doing any enforcement, well, then there's nobody doing enforcement.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Well, that was the whole point of creating our own ordinance, wasn't it?
Local control.
Yeah.
Well, then we better hope that the city can enforce it, because that's what we were supposed to be doing before, according to the county. They were just licensing, and enforcement was our job.
The problem was,
So
Marcia, is
I
we weren't,
believe you're
we weren't
saying
getting the
criminal
information.
penalties are easier to enforce because people ignore misdemeanors. Is that not true?
In my experience, people ignore misdemeanors. They probably don't care.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, police chief can respond to that too, but and I don't know who does your criminal prosecution for the city, but they just,
Criminal prosecution is done by the county attorney's office, but they won't prosecute city ordinances.
right. So you basically don't have anybody doing it.
Well, that's part of the problem. I was gonna try to mention, Marcia, and the other part of the problem was the county, the county really doesn't pass on the short-term rental complaints to us, so we didn't never really know, because we weren't in charge of it. So if they did get a complaint, it's not like they called us and said, there's too many people that are staying at this house. That's kind of been the whole issue all along. So if we're gonna do this, you guys have to know that we do not have somebody that's gonna prosecute these, so they'll have to go.
So you're saying if we wanted criminal prosecution, we would have to address it with our city attorney?
Correct.
And have him directly handle it?
Correct.
Don't you think that if we have hefty enough fines, people, I think, are more concerned about having to pay more money than they are about misdemeanors, for instance?
No, they'll just walk away and not do anything.
Right.
They'll just sit there and force our hand on everything.
Right.
Yeah, I think your biggest hammer, frankly, is removing their ability to do it, period. And that's removing or suspending their license. But you have to be willing to follow that up, right? So if they're still doing it, that requires a court action. And you have to go to Crow Wing County's court, get the injunction, say, hey, this is an ongoing violation, this is what we've done to address it, it's still not happening, we need an injunction, and then bring that court order against the property.
So are you saying that even if they have a third violation, we can't suspend their license until we go to court?
No, you can.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just saying, even if you did all that and they're still doing it.
Oh, if they're still doing it?
Yeah, if they're ignoring
Okay,
you anyway,
gotcha.
because it's a form of income for them, then that's the next step. I just want- you just
So
have
what
to-
do you recommend that we do for an attorney for the enforcement portion of it?
What's that? I'm
I
sorry.
mean, what do you recommend to fill that void? Could you do that?
I don't do the criminal work, no. I mean, there's several attorneys in Brainerd who do the criminal side of things. And you could use that if you wanted to go that route. My point was that if you were to talk to those attorneys, a lot of them would tell you that doing misdemeanor prosecution for code violations isn't real high on their priority list because it's just, even when you do it, people don't care. I just had an issue on Lake Minnetonka where the criminal attorney was going after this family for, I think, 2 years on a misdemeanor violation. And it was just going nowhere. And that wasn't the first time. And we've converted it to a civil and have now brought an injunction against them. And all of a sudden, they're very attentive to it all and they're trying to get it dealt with. You know, if you get them to the point where you're removing that source of income, it tends to get their attention.
Well, that's what we want to do.
So we should,
This piece on 23-12C about if they contest, it gets converted to a criminal enforcement. I mean, it's up to you. I'm not a big fan of that type of enforcement. You can,
Didn't we?
I
just delete it.
I would, my opinion is to remove that.
But didn't we have that conversation, Jake? A while ago, we were talking about, or you had brought up the fact that it's hard to chase these people down to, if you were ever to bring it, or I don't know, we had some kind of conversation.
Probably the conversation we just had.
Exactly. It was a-
Joe, how would we
They're not gonna care.
revamp this so that we,
Some of them will, some of them won't.
we get this to work? How do we revamp it to get it to work? Do we remove C and replace C with a different term?
You could delete C and just not put anything there, and we work through the penalty process here. I would probably redo D as well, because to me, that going straight into a suspension for non-payment when your next paragraph E talks about 3 violations in 12 months gets you suspended. I would massage that as well to make that a little bit more consistent. And then E, I had talked about in my email here, you've got a due process potential issue here, where you've got 3 violations regardless of ownership. Well, if some putts before me had 2 violations, I buy the property and the garbage cans don't come in timely. Now that's 3 violations, and all of a sudden I've lost my deal because it's 2 from the guy before me. That might be a procedural problem. It needs to come after me. It's not a property issue. I would just rework some of this section in here for enforcement.
Can't you just remove regardless of ownership? Take care of it?
Yep, for that piece, yes.
Where's that
E.
We're trying to, Joe, we're trying to get this enacted as quickly as we can. So that we get everything started on January 1st. And we'd like to start taking applications when, Chip, are you guys ready next month?
So you have in the ordinance that they have to have their inspection 60 days before they get licensed. I don't know how you're possibly going to get that done. So what are you going to do? Are you going to say that there's a special circumstance here and that you're going to give them 120 days?
Well, the problem is,
60 days after
Can
their
you
license?
start over, because I was listening over here to Aaron, and then you were talking, so I don't even know which question I'm supposed to answer.
Okay, I'm saying that we can't do we can't get the
I can do the
inspection completed.
inspections right now if they've submitted, as long as we got to get this done. Our platform's being built, but we've been waiting for this for about 2.5 months.
No,
So we can do the inspections prior to them before January, before it actually goes into effect. But we've been waiting for this for a while now.
I know, 3, 4 months.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so they're still, that's not holding up the platform being built. Jen and I have been working with them, so they've got a lot of the paperwork and they're just building the platform. Yes, I can do and start inspections anytime, but I gotta get this paperwork done. So-
In the event you could not get there for an inspection, we wouldn't hold them up
No,
with their rental.
no, we
We'll
would put something there, note within 6 months or whatever, but
Right,
I think I can get a lot done
right.
beforehand.
Okay, so could we put in the ordinance that unless there's, it's 60 days unless there's failure on the city's part to get the inspection done?
We can do whatever you wanna do.
Well, I'm just saying to move it along and
Yeah,
make
I
sure
mean, I have
that
to- I have a lot of
short-term
documents
rental
that
people aren't
I have
held.
I have a lot of documents that have to get accepted by the lawyers, the council, that were,
So we might not even be ready for
oh no, they got them,
licensing
they're ready,
January
they just
1st.
have to be looked over. Like the affidavit for the short-term rental, the owner, the property manager, the affidavit for the address, I mean, everything needs to be.
Joe still needs to look over it.
Yes.
and
I
approve
was just
it,
gonna
so.
say.
And they're
let 'em
clean,
leave
so
until he does
I'm gonna give them to them today, but they're clean, so I'm not, I mean, I could put them up on the screen if we wanna go through them, but
Okay.
everything, we're just waiting for the final, so we can move forward.
Joe, do you feel that you can work with Chip and get this worked out?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out schedule here, since your next meeting, your regular council meeting isn't until November 12th.
Yep.
So that's 3 weeks away.
I think you're
And we
good.
have to have 2 readings.
This is, we've already done that. We've already read this part, the ordinance.
Well, isn't Joe gonna have to massage this a little bit?
Yeah.
with his
The final will have
language.
to have two, right?
That's,
The final ordinance will have to have 2 readings?
Right. The hope is that
Yep.
we could make these changes quickly, come back, then your 60-day comes, where is that in this ordinance?
November 1st.
Okay.
Okay.
I
The-
can put-
If we,
I'm just not sure that we need it.
We don't need it.
if we get this ordinance, the ordinance that provides for 2 readings is going to be adopted at the next meeting. If we get this ordinance in place, since we've actually had a reading and stuff and not come, I mean, do we need 2 readings on this ordinance if we've had it in front of us how many times? If we had a special meeting prior to the November meeting, we could get it done, if you can get your part done.
If this ordinance comes before the council prior to the 2 reading ordinance becoming effective,
Right.
then yeah, then you don't need the 2 readings.
That's what I
Right.
was saying. We could get it done. If we have a full draft, a clean draft in front of us, we can get it done before that.
And Joe, we got 3 days' notice, but we can have a special meeting anytime to look at it.
Right. So it's November
And we should set the meeting now and force the issue, make sure he's got it done.
here before that.
I'd like it before that.
Okay,
Yeah, sooner the better.
yeah. 3 weeks away, so.
Yeah, if we can do something, do like the first, anytime before that. Great.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna have you, since you're here, we're gonna go through this.
So right now, we're deleting, we're contemplating deleting 2312C, D, and taking regardless of ownership out of E. And I don't know, you were gonna do something with the improved surface area somewhere else in the ordinance? Those are the
that'll be
things
a-
that,
Yeah, we'll get that put into the definition section at the beginning.
okay. So this should be not a big time. We could actually have a special meeting in 3 days if you could just whip this thing out.
Because everything else looked pretty good and that looks like
That was my
you're,
Next question.
right.
Is there anything else in here from staff
Yeah.
or council?
yes.
Okay.
One thing, I have this VBRO, and I've got 2 violations. Now I transfer it to my brother-in-law who has a different last name, and he continues on, he gets 2 violations. We keep passing the property around to continue to operate our way. I know that's a hard thing to try to work in here, but you understand what I'm saying?
I guess you have to, at some point, decide how big of an issue will that be? How, I mean.
Couldn't
I mean,
even guess.
There's always ways around things if you really want to try hard enough. The question is, do you really need to put all that in your city code?
Right.
Not until it happens.
Or do you just,
I'm sorry, something like that's pretty clear. I think you take the bull by the horn and you say, you're done.
We'll get you in here.
Well, I'm just saying.
Just go ahead and
If you've
rework
got
it.
somebody that's circumventing the ordinance, you can take action on something like that, can't you, attorney? I'm not legal, but,
We can make motions, correct? Sure.
Time to change ownership.
well, I mean, I am legal. I am a legal citizen.
I make a
I
motion.
meant I have no legal knowledge of, I don't have a
that's what I'm saying, it's a
certificate
practical matter, it doesn't.
or license to practice.
I make a motion that that Joe and Chip, Paul, if appropriate, rework this ordinance and have it back for the 12th, November 12th meeting.
Weren't we gonna try to get it back before?
We're gonna,
Yeah,
By that time.
I'll second that, Aaron.
what was the first? What was the?
Just that you two are working together to get it done and get it back to us before.
Yeah, I'll work with staff to get a revised ordinance. We'll go through the forms and try to get that back as fast as possible so that, if not by the end of the month, certainly very early November.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Get
Thank
back
you.
before you folks and you can get it approved and get the ball rolling on the.
Joe, one comment on that owner transfer and all that kind of stuff. Could we do anything in there that would double or triple fines? Because that would be a big deterrent too, in a calendar year.
If somebody's transferring ownership to.
Well, or just if,
Avoid-
yeah. I mean,
you could, but you have to go through the whole application process again. I mean,
to transfer?
to transfer. So I'm not sure if this is a big enough problem, I guess, to expressly address in the ordinance.
I mean, the biggest deterrent is money.
Yeah,
Or
you're
shut it
gonna
down, so-
not be able to use this property
Or
as a
not be able to
money-making
use it.
deal.
Okay, you got a motion and a second.
Okay, all in favor?
can you restate the motion? I missed it. I didn't get it.
Shar, can you read that?
Will you restate the motion?
Aaron, I think I have this, that you want Joe to work with staff to have a draft ordinance back no later than November 12th.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
And Marcia, you seconded that?
I did.
Jackson did? Okay, all in favor? You got to do a roll call, Shar?
Yes, I do. Marcia?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
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 What?
Sandy?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I set a special meeting? Can I make a motion that we have a special meeting Thursday, October 31st? For this ordinance, so we don't wait till November 12th and get the show on the road?
Well, it
Can it
would
be
be
Friday?
contingent if they have it ready.
Well,
Second,
that's
that if we can add a contingency that if ready.
Pretty good by the 1st. That's
And
one
let's
day.
have it be a one-item agenda.
Yep.
One-item agenda.
That's it. Okay, I'll change that to the 1st since you said the 1st. I'll make a motion that we hold a special meeting Friday, November 1st for the purpose of adopting the short-term rental ordinance.
I'll second that.
Okay, I cannot do it in the morning of the 1st, so.
Well, I didn't put a time on it, so what time can you make it?
Okay,
What
Go to-
time?
1 o'clock? I can't do it in the morning.
Okay, so it's November 1st, 1 o'clock.
Perfect.
And that's the only thing. We're not adding anything else to the
Jackson?
agenda?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Marcia?
Yes.
Joe, I do have a question on F, failure to license. A separate offense shall be deemed committed on each day during or on which a violation occurs or continues. And it says a fine is set forth on each day. Is that possible? Our fine is $1,000 for not licensing.
Well, is it possible? Yes. Might you get pushed back on a fine that is, not consistent with the offense? Yeah, potentially. In my experience, when it comes to daily fines like that, council typically doesn't impose them from the outset. There's back and forth with the property owner, and they don't get imposed until such time as it's made clear that the property owner is deliberately violating the code.
So it would normally start with a letter from you?
Yes.
Okay.
We would do that whole process first.
Okay.
Yep.
The city council has done that before on a zoning issue. I think they fined this guy about $20-some thousand for a violation.
So you're saying if there's a capacity problem or a parking problem or some kind of a problem, we have to wait for the letters to go out and returned and give them 2 weeks?
Well, for more routine things like that, I would just go ahead and send a notice from staff out right away. Right. You want to start that paper trail. In terms of the fine, I mean, is this the same penalty of $1,000 if they have a garbage fine?
I think so.
Well, you may want to address that.
But Joe, if we don't have a fine like that, nobody's gonna pay attention to it. So the
So,
whole purpose of this
The
is
question then is, are you going to enforce that fine for
Absolutely,
that kind of violation?
yeah. 'Cause
Could we
if
say-
change the pattern, we're gonna change the habit.
Could we say $1,000 every day commencing upon notification?
Well, that gives them at least a week, Sandy.
Right. I mean, once they've been notified, then they don't have no excuses.
We got their phone number right on the ticket on the wall, we can call them and notify them.
Exactly.
I don't understand why we would wanna play that cat and mouse game. They need to read through the thing, they sign, they get a license, they know what the rules are. And if they break a rule, it goes in, otherwise it's gonna be a lot of work by a lot of staff to try to chase this stuff down.
Okay.
We take pictures, we have a documented phone call, and to me, the fine should be due that day. I mean, that's part of their licensing, is knowing what the rules are and play by the rules. That's the whole purpose of this whole thing.
But our typical letter gives 30 days to respond. Am I correct, Paul? Doesn't it, a typical letter give 30 days to respond?
Yeah, it depends on the offense, but that is what typically I will do, a 30-day.
Joe, I would just soon see that go in immediately. However that is done. Otherwise, it's gonna be stupid. I mean, I don't even know why we're doing it.
But if we call them that night and say, or day, whatever it is, and say you have a problem, the garbage was not contained and it wasn't whatever, and they're there that day and they fix the issue.
This one here.
And then they work toward correcting the
This license,
ongoing.
they read right in there, you got 24 hours.
But I think you're going to have trouble.
Command of comments.
Well, I'm going to be quiet because I'm not going to be part of the enforcement part.
We don't have an ordinance for.
The whole thing is, I
So
think
we're
that
just picking on STRs
you
here, not
told the public that,
Can you do that?
the council told the public that it's gonna be taken care of in 60 minutes. How unrealistic is that? But that was put out there.
Yeah, if we gotta start sending letters and wait for a 30-day response, and, I mean, that's just a joke.
On the garbage issue, because I know a lot of the violations, there's a difference between when you actually get a penalty and what a violation is, because let's say there's poor parking or something and they get called, this company will automatically call the homeowner or the management company, and they have X amount of time to remedy the issue, and it doesn't become a violation until that certain time frame is up. And so do we look at garbage cans the same way? Hey, they're over, it's been longer than 24 hours, they get a call, they now have 60 minutes to remedy that issue. Or with the garbage is after the 24 hours, it's a fine.
I think that's the way it should, I mean, it's written right in here. They signed the license application. It's clear right in there.
I agree, Dave.
We're all gonna have, I think we all know, especially we've all gotten emails from certain people in the community, this garbage issue is gonna be a main, huge topic. We're gonna have people tattletaling on each other for garbage till the day is over. This is
Joe, I
pretty
have a
crazy.
question on that garbage too. Are we allowed to enforce more stringent policies on short-term rentals than we are on our own neighbors?
Well, you could, it's a commercial, it's a business venture, you're treating, it's not a residential thing at that point, but it raises a broader policy issue of, should you? If nobody else has that rule, then why do these folks have that rule?
Well, I thought we were all in agreement up here that if we're doing the garbage issue for short-term rentals, it goes citywide as well.
Well, we haven't started that.
Well, I don't
process.
think other than Public Works, anybody spends as much time on the road driving around as I have, but you go to some of these and they got 5 or 6 garbage cans at the end of the road.
I know.
That would be a whole city ordinance.
Right,
Now you're gonna
right.
get complaints on.
But
the
I'm
people
saying
that
it's gonna be
aren't STRs. That's my,
I'm just saying the fact is it's gonna be a mess.
I think the city.
Trying to police garbage.
But if we use the commercial idea, that's the reason for it. It's a business, and you're telling them, get their garbage in. There is a difference.
Jake, you know that place right on Manhattan Point, when you first turn down, they got those 3 garbage cans on the walking path? Mm-hmm. That's permanent storage. That's where they keep them, 100% of the time.
Yep.
They're big, bright red garbage cans. And nobody else does. So why do they get allowed to do that? To me, that's gotta stop.
Well, can I say something?
Sure.
I think everyone's getting distracted from the intention of just going through the short-term rentals. We can deal with the citywide ordinance on trash. Can we do that at a future date? See if people complain about the difference in the, enforcement of that? I mean, can we just get through this?
Yeah, I agree with you, Sandy, although I think we should look at the citywide.
Well, yeah, but can we do that another time?
I mean, people come up for the weekend, they put the garbage out on Sunday, the garbage can sits there until the next Friday, if they come up the next week. It sits
Yeah.
on the street. And
Well, obviously that needs to be addressed, but
anybody who plows snow or does anything on the roads in the winter knows what a pain that is.
yeah. But we're getting off track, I
Well-
think, right?
Yep, okay. Got that, Joe?
Are we going to item 2 now?
Please.
Okay. You mean we're done with the short term?
Well, I think until November 1st at 1 o'clock.
Yep. Joe, in closing, they acknowledge all these rules when they sign that and pay their fine. They know what the rules are. If I get my driver's license and the speed limit is 55 and I'm driving through town 75, Jake does not have to write me a letter and give me 30 days to respond. I mean, we need to change the habits that have developed in town here.
Right. Yeah.
Now for a little fun.
All right.
Sandy, can you see that?
No,
Well, are you looking at a piece of paper? I should ask that.
I'm at a blank piece of paper with notes on it. I'm not seeing anything at all.
We're trying to get this to focus for Sandy.
All right, so.
I can see it. I can see it.
Just a quick reminder, this is, you guys asked to see this last special meeting, but what's being presented today still needs to go in front of the Planning Commission first for their approval and recommendation to you guys. And so today is just a discussion. You guys can obviously give your opinions, but we've got a Planning Commission meeting on Friday. This will get brought up with them, but we need to go through the proper procedure. So today is just a discussion because you guys asked to see it. We sat down with Joe, and then me and Cheryl came up with the personal storage district that you guys created for 3 or 4 individual parcels in town. So we created a personal storage district, as you can see here. Oh, and let me state that everything in red in your packet is what has already been approved. You guys approved that on September 30th at a special meeting. And what's in purple is the new district and what is now being proposed. So a personal storage district, the purpose of this district is to accommodate limited personal storage use with performance standards established in Articles 28 and 29, along with Section 26-282. This district is solely for personal storage. Any other use and water utilities are prohibited. To create this district, a land use map amendment will be required. In addition, a conditional use permit will be needed before obtaining a land use permit. And so then we created the PS district, means a personal storage district. And then there is going to be some, along with creating a new district, there's going to be a lot of just administrative decisions that'll be met. But as far as the land use table goes, at the bottom, we just have C provisions for PS, personal storage, in sections 226, 382, then refer to the underlying districts. And I'm going to skip to page 9, where it says personal storage district standards. So again, the purpose of this district is to accommodate limited personal storage use with performance standards established in Articles 28 and 29, along with Section 26-282. This district is solely for personal storage. Any other use and water utilities are prohibited. Number 2, minimum development size to be 10 acres, platted out to meet the below requirements. Number 3, to create this district, a land use map amendment will be required upon completing a DRT meeting. Number 4, water utilities of any kind, outside storage, and any other use except personal storage are prohibited. And number 5, refer to Articles 28 and 29 for greater regulated standards within this district. And so then we created the new setbacks and lot sizes. The biggest changes are the maximum impervious coverage is 25%, which is more of a residential personal standard. Minimum lot area, 20,000 square feet, which is still consistent. I think all the other ones are still consistent with commercial district outside of the impervious.
You don't mention the overlay district in this, or the shoreland district in this table.
No, part of it is, well, the overlay district would still apply because the overlay district would be on top of the personal storage district. So anywhere the personal storage district would go dip into the corridor overlay, that corridor would take precedence.
Okay.
And
Just like any of the underlying districts.
Same with the shoreline district, not
Yep.
allowed.
Anything in the corridor would take precedence, or would trump the other ones. And again, there's a couple of administrative things. If we jump to page 13, well, really, and I can go through all of this. Most of this is administrative decisions just based on a new district. But as, you know, we had to add a personal storage and commercial for a lot of these items. What's that?
Page 3, number 3, answers Dave's question.
Personal storage districts are prohibited in shoreline and overlay districts.
Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I'm gonna just jump to, page 17. Sorry to jump around on you, but I'm just gonna go over what's kind of the critical points, and then the administrative stuff just comes along with it. But a personal storage district, a lot of it's similar. We took out the 5% and 2% glass, assuming that on a storage, a lot of glass isn't gonna be used. But all other architectural standards still apply, as far as 25% of one material on any front facade. And non-facade shall be no more than 75% of one approved material type. We still want them to use a natural tone color to meet the North Woods character that Cross Lake is built on. And then again, if it's within the corridor, then the corridor architectural standards would then apply.
Paul, have you determined where this personal storage zoning area is going to be?
Well, as of right now, and what you guys decided on, and that was the four parcels.
Exactly.
Those 4 parcels, 2 of which are Jeff McGrath's. One is Dean Agana's and one is Miller Construction. Those would be deemed, or those would be automatically rezoned to this personal storage district. So those would be the only ones in town. Now, being that we're adding this to our ordinance, somebody would then have the ability to come in and ask for a zoning amendment and ask for a personal storage district. And then we would have to, it would come upon you guys to determine whether that's an allowable area or not.
Whoever's sitting up here determines that, whether you want another personal storage district.
Yeah.
I do have a question about water utilities. Why is that a big thing?
Well, you guys were the ones who brought it up.
I don't recall.
I don't recall ever bringing water up.
It did it got brought up with septic. Do we want to allow septics?
I don't care, but I don't have a
Well,
problem with the water
if you
deal.
don't allow
they've-
septics, you can't have water. You can't have a sink. Water has to go somewhere. So if you don't allow septics, you can't allow water.
Oh, I see, okay.
That's why,
So-
that's why.
Is there a reason that we
Well, the big,
wouldn't allow them water and septic when, they could possibly bring their boat back to the personal storage shed
Right.
and want to wash it?
I agree.
well, I guess the big difference is, this is storage. This is somewhere where you bring your personal goods, you drop it and you leave. That's what storage is. Versus if you want water, which, you're gonna have a sink, a bathroom, a kitchen, a bar, it becomes a gathering place. It becomes more than storage.
I would have a better place to,
And then, but then it comes into back to the issue of, do we just want it to be a commercial use? Because
No,
if
we're-
we're gonna allow all these things, then it becomes a commercial use.
okay, that's fine. I have a storage shed, I don't have water or sewer, so it's no big deal because I don't ever plan on going
I should
over
say,
there.
this is the traditional storage unit, that we're talking about. This idea of allowing a man cave or, these type of items in a commercial district is new.
Yeah.
And
guess
so, we heard what you guys talked about as far as no septics, wanting it to stay for personal storage and personal storage. So this is what we created, personal storage district.
I just asked because I didn't hear anybody talk about that before as far as they wanted it, so.
And there was
I
like
don't
a
have problem.
2-second blurb of Dan Miller and
Oh,
planning and
okay.
zoning going back and
All right,
forth
I
at the
probably
last
missed that.
meeting.
But I don't have a problem with, I don't have a problem with that at all. I just asking the question to find out.
Paul,
if
while
there's-
we're on that though, I don't see screening in here.
So we have screening, and to be honest, a lot of our screening is actually well worded and in place. It's just a big, it comes down to making sure it's enforced. We actually have a pretty significant screening section that just needs to be better enforced. That starts with me.
But, no, let me just go on with the water thing with the screening, is that we're gonna make sure that they have that screening grow.
Yeah, well, and I know like we have in the commercial district, we have a pretty significant landscaping plan that needs to be put in place. But in order to have a landscaping plan, you need to allow water. You can't force somebody to have X amount of shrubs and X amount of trees and X amount of this and then say, well, you can't have water. So we actually took the landscaping part out of this personal storage district. There's no landscaping plan required. There is a screening plan, but that screening plan could consist of a fence. It doesn't have to be trees. We would encourage the use of trees.
But if you got a commercial storage, personal storage park, 10-acre chunk going in next to a residential thing, we talked about expanding the screening, making it 30-foot buffer or something. And
That is on the table, there's 30 feet, plus on page 12, it also has that on there.
Yeah, if you go to page 12, it has all of our screening standards.
12.4 is on the bottom.
I'm just wondering if we shouldn't, on a 10-acre development of storage buildings, require the developer to put in a pump house and have irrigation on it for,
Well, we thought about that. The issue is that's a huge parcel, 10 acres, which if you split it up, it's smaller lots, but you're asking, if there's a pump house 1,000 feet away, it's hard to expect somebody to tap into that pump house, to water their trees that are in the back of their, storage building. Because we're requiring screening in between the personal storage and the other districts, whether it be commercial or residential or industrial. We're not requiring screening between each individual parcel within the personal storage district.
it's just, if they plant stuff, it's gonna die if it's not watered. If we
And that's-
don't
yeah.
tell them, they have to do it.
Yeah.
So you're saying that they should maybe have consideration, the planning commission I'm talking about,
Yeah.
consideration for a shallow well.
Something.
Doesn't need to be a deep well because a shallow is a fraction of the
And it should
cost.
be a requirement of the development to,
Yeah, and that's a hard one too, because you're asking somebody to invest into a well, whether it be shallow well, deep well, to only use for irrigation.
well, if they
And
want to
maybe,
put the storage park
maybe,
there,
yeah, maybe so be it, but, $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 for your, to water your screening and then to say no to it on the inside, which is fine, but
we just know what's gonna happen if they don't have water. It's gonna die and.
Well, then maybe
If-
they
if
need to
they-
talk about fencing.
If they know they need to have irrigation, and that's part of it, they just need to know that up front, and then that's what the cost of the lots will entail, is to include that shallow well on there, because they need it for irrigation for their screening, and that's all part of it, just
And I'm sure
gotta
that's
do it.
going to all get discussed at the commission.
Yeah, but I mean,
Is that Friday or Thursday? Friday, okay.
I think it's really important that we don't allow septic because it will make regulation of what's going on in those storage units a lot easier.
That was what one of our main things was listening to what the council wanted. You wanted a different district, so we gave you a different district of just personal storage. And we looked at as you come in, probably twice a year. Come in, put your boat in, and you leave. I mean,
Right.
you put your couch or whatever in, your seasonal stuff or whatever, and you leave. The screening we felt was important because we've heard the residents through the years being here, and so we thought, well, the fence would be all right. I've been here almost 11 years, and you just can't make people grow trees. And we didn't really want this district to be spent time in. This is to have the residents know it's going to be just storage. Now you're asking them to come how many times a day and water their trees and make it more of a homey place when that's not what this was for. That's at your home. So put up a fence, do a berm with maybe a shorter fence if you don't want to put up a huge fence.
But I think-
the whole idea was come in, drop off your stuff and leave. That's it.
Exactly, Cheryl. Exactly.
That's to me what personal storage is. I mean,
Yep.
otherwise we're going
I-
back into commercial, let's just throw the district out.
And yeah, again, to go off of that, I mean, one of the big issues was that a lot of the developers have been pushing, what you guys have brought up is enforcement. How do we enforce land use? And this is, a way to not have to really regulate it. If there's no septics allowed, there's gonna be no living quarters that, are gonna be happening in these. There's gonna be a lot less issues. And in fact, we even said, with being that it's a little bit more regulated, do we even need CUPs in this district? Because it's pretty straightforward as far as the requirements go. But on the flip side, we are creating a district that is for one use and one use only, which is gonna be the only district in town with that. So if they decide, well, I want an auto mechanic shop,
Not happening.
you can't do it. You can't do any business. This is for personal storage and personal storage only.
Okay, so when they come in and they got this 10-acre addition, can't it be the property owner's decision whether they want to have a shallow irrigation system and go with trees surrounding the perimeter versus a fence? And
Yes,
couldn't
I would
that be
be,
part?
I would be for that.
Yeah, I'm just saying
Absolutely.
that.
If they want to invest in a shallow well or even a deep well and use it for irrigation, I know the city of Nisswa has that in their
Yeah,
ordinance.
so they don't need a
Water is to
septic
be used
system for that.
for irrigation only.
Right. So I just think that door should be left open, that they could have that. They could have a fence if they want to have a fence. Not each individual property owner is going to have that. But coming in as asking for that parcel, 10 acres to be zone PS, that they have the option of the screening being fence around the whole area, or they can put in a irrigation well and have trees. And that would all come out at the public hearing for the rezoning, that the area property owners within 350 feet or whatever the case may be, if they want screening to be trees, then I would hope that that property owner would listen to them to keep it.
Well, and it would depend on if we wanted CUPs or not. If we didn't do CUPs, then there would be no public hearing on the permitting of these buildings.
But rezoning would,
Oh, the rezoning, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So at that point is when you take care of that.
But if it's commercial land, they don't have to rezone.
Well, it would be no longer
Yeah.
commercial. Well, I guess if somebody else came in and wanted to create this district, you're right.
Yeah, I think you should be able to put some rules on them when they do it.
So the biggest takeaways is, a new district, small, we have 25% impervious. So smaller, potentially small, if you have small lots, you're gonna have smaller buildings. No septic and or water, except for irrigation purposes.
Yeah, I'm
And
just
it's to
saying,
be used
it's a
for
choice.
personal storage and personal storage only.
I think you should keep the conditional use though, so that you can put a fence or some kind of barrier around it, depending on what the lay is. But you can take a look at it then.
But if you're asking for a rezone, that's when you lay it on them.
We were kind of hoping to not have a CUP, I understand, and that's why we put it in for the commissioners to make their decision whether or not they would like to have that in here as part of the recommendation or not, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're coming.
Yeah, the screening is the only,
to bubble it down enough in the ordinance that we wouldn't have to have it all come before the commissioners.
Because it's more, you'd almost have to come in and replat an area if you're gonna ask for a new, a zoning amendment or a map amendment. You'd almost have to come in with a plat, and so you'd go through the process up front. Take any one of the developers, for example, I mean, they all had to plat those individual parcels.
at
And
that
so through the
point,
platting process, that's when you can put in
Put the
plenty of
standards on.
conditions and,
Okay, that's fine, as long as you can do it.
yeah.
Well, then, shall we just have a consensus that we move it on to the commission?
Sure, we'll see what they have to
Yeah,
say.
I'm in favor of that.
Great.
Okay, thanks, you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Where are you going, Lori? Oh, we don't have, I don't have that thing in front of me. Did we not get it? I don't think I got it. Could I have that? Do you have one? I just don't have anything in front of me.
Just a reference, I guess. That's from. Yeah, I am.
Well, I have this,
Yes.
the contract.
Okay, so last on our agenda is to talk about the administrative employment agreement. Did you all get a chance to read through the contract?
I just
Yes.
this morning.
So you did.
Answers my question.
I did, I got it emailed.
So reading through the contract, last time we tried to do this,
Dave, I'm not going to read through this today and make a vote for or against. I don't know what's in here. It's an 18-page contract.
That's the old one.
Yeah, that's what Mike,
This is the,
That's what I got this morning when I walked in.
I handed you that because Lori, apparently she sent it to us on Friday and I didn't check my email either. But this is what we're going over. She attached the 18-page contract as a reference and that was the old contract.
That was Mike's
That was
contract.
Mike's contract.
that was the
So
city
this is like
administrators
just
union.
this is the summary. Or the agreement, it's the agreement.
Summary, right?
no, this is her contract.
She's not going under the union contract
That's
because she
why
wants
it's
to do union negotiations.
I think her contract's pretty succinct, actually.
I didn't have a problem with it.
No, I
Neither-
went through everything last night trying to find this in my email, and
I
didn't
couldn't,
find it.
I couldn't find it either. That's why I came in and asked for a copy.
Okay,
I don't know what happened to our emails, but I didn't get the one
Exactly.
on workshops.
my emails are.
The
so
emails
screwed
are
up.
so screwed up again, it's pathetic.
well, I think you guys, we should just take a few minutes and read through it.
I got mine in Switzerland on Friday.
Woo-hoo.
Email works better internationally than in Cross Lake.
That doesn't surprise
I
me.
was saying, not a surprise.
She forwarded it apparently on Thursday or Friday.
I didn't get that one.
I got the one before. I did get the one on the employment. So I don't know what the deal is.
So did they get that what was that called, Marcia? When I asked you the other day, that goofy provision of, if it's deemed unreasonable or an unsafe work environment, did that get tossed out of here?
No, that's.
Or is that at the top in the
Nothing
termination?
has been
Number
talked about with
17,
this.
under
What?
termination of
You
benefits.
guys have not discussed this. So
When we
nothing-
talked about it the other night at the city council meeting, we did.
Yeah,
But nothing's
that's-
been tossed out. You guys didn't vote to toss anything out of here.
No, okay, maybe
okay.
I haven't gotten there yet, but,
Number 17
okay.
takes care of that.
That's what I was asking about. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, there it is, yeah. That has been validated by an attorney or licensed counselor. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. Right. That's what I was looking
We
for.
only had highlights, now we got the full contract. We only have highlights, now we have the full contract. Is everybody done?
I think Aaron's still working here.
I'm glad it's this and not this.
Yeah, me too. I do need to ask a question, though, 2025, there's really nothing there. I realize right now she's between the two steps when she was hired. What exactly is in 2025 is, after the 6 months, she gets 3.5%? And then it goes on to 2000. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I thought that 6210 was 2026, but it's 2025. Take it back, retrieved. This is min-pay scale. I mean, it's taken off the min-pay scale. I'll make a motion to approve the employment agreement that's set before us for Lori Conway's employment.
To approve?
Yep.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
I second.
Okay,
And we better discuss this before we do an approval of any kind.
okay.
Go ahead.
First one on the 10, 11, and I think it's 12, we need to have a clause in there that says as budgeted allows, budget approval, something of that nature, so that all of a sudden we're not paying for all kinds of stuff, just carte blanche. Okay?
Isn't this normal?
But Aaron, if you look at the employer shall budget, so we would have control of
I
it.
saw that, but under these specifically, it doesn't say that. So it needs to be encompassed into that whole group.
But what would you change if the employer shall budget?
As budget has been approved. In other words, you can't walk in and apply for a $10,000 class if you end up at the FBI Academy.
No, because,
Or great, well, it's been partial.
but the employer shall budget, so she can't go over that budgeted amount without approval.
But these don't say that. They
Well, they
First
do.
line is employer recognizes.
The employer shall budget, employer shall budget. Is that what you're saying?
So she can't go over the budget. She would have to come in and ask for approval.
You want to have it say the employer shall budget and be approved by the city council?
But the budget is approved by the city.
We are the
Yeah,
employer.
She's right on that.
Okay.
I read past the first one. Okay, then on hours of work, why is she getting comp time? She's paid a significant salary. That's number 15. Why is she getting any comp time of any kind? When you're a salaried employee, you are expected to work a certain number of hours, which goes beyond your 40-hour work week. So I think that whole 40-hour compensation thing should, because that 40 hours can accumulate in the course of a year, 2, 3, 4 weeks easily.
How do we handle it in the union contract? I mean, do no salaried, no, I know it's not, but I'm just saying that, do we allow it in the salaried union contract to get 40 hours of comp time?
Salaried union contract.
Well, min-peas.
That's an item with that union.
Yeah, I know, but if you're giving it to other salaried employees,
They don't make this kind of money. But and that's a discussion that we should have at the time we discuss that union.
Sure, internally, are you
We as a
talking about
council,
comp
Marcia,
time?
haven't even approved to address or look at the MNP contract. We have not had a.
no, we haven't, but I'm just saying previously in the union contract, I think there's been 40 hours of comp time.
Are you guys getting comp time?
So, Marcia, I don't think so. I don't.
Are we
Oh, okay,
talking about-
then I'll plead
Up until
ignorance.
now,
I don't
no,
know.
but it is proposed,
Yeah.
That you guys get comp time?
yes.
You don't take comp time now.
That's a discussion we had at that time. I think in this one here, I disagree.
What number is that, Aaron?
Say it,
You're
if,
talking-
15, number 15.
I agree, Aaron, if nobody's getting comp time,
We should hold off.
we should just kick that out.
Yeah.
Well, let's figure it out first with the
Just-
employees and then assess after you guys figure out whatever you need to figure out within your department or within your,
Well, they don't figure it out, we do, so.
well, until the discussion is had, is what I'm saying.
Because the typical salaried employee, if they work 44 hours this week, within the pay period, they have to take that 4 hours off. It's the way I've always worked it, had it, and that's how they addressed it to me when I was salaried.
Yeah, but we're talking about Cross Lake now, and I guess if we don't want to give comp time to anybody that's salaried, then we should take comp time out of there. If that's what we're
You have
gonna
an
do.
opinion on that?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you have an opinion on that?
no, not really.
Okay,
I'm just saying that if we're not gonna allow comp time across the board for salaried employees, I'm fine with just taking that out. I agree with you, Aaron.
Thank you.
I'm all right holding off for a little bit till we,
so do we just put a note, leave for discussion for entire staff or something, what the policy is gonna be?
Okay, I have one more question, Dave, I'm sorry. Has our attorney addressed this in any capacity? This is a formal contract that's going to carry on for a long time. Has he reviewed it?
I don't know that answer.
Susan would probably be the one to review
Well,
it, right?
that's our attorney. I didn't, I know I asked Joe if he'd seen it.
Well, there's Joe right there coming in the door.
Are we putting a term on this contract? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, or we're just leaving it open-ended? I'm not.
Well, the
I'm
pay
not
scale
saying that.
goes through 2026, just like the union contracts are
So I
going.
imagine it would come back after that term is expired.
We could just make that a condition. That it be reevaluated, just like the
Right,
checks are.
right. Or 20, what? No, down here. Flip. Right here.
Well, yeah,
So is there gonna be something coming in front of us, Shar, about comp time, or is this just a discussion you guys are having in the offices with Lori?
Personnel, have you discussed it?
Well, we have discussed it.
All right.
Is it okay if we talk about it here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, you know, when we get into the voting, when we get into certain times, budgeting and whatever, when they have to put in a lot of hours in to get something done, Shara's had to put in a lot of hours because of staff shortages
Yeah.
and whatever. We have talked about comping that time. And I think they would use it in a time that would work, right? I mean, that's
So just
part of
coming
it.
in later the next day or whatever,
whatever.
or taking 4 hours off at the end of the week or
They
whatever.
worked 4 hours extra today, they've got a
Right.
bank of 4 hours.
Part of their 40-hour work week.
Well,
You know-
but what if they're working 56 hours because the demand is there and they have to do it?
Then they lose it.
Well,
That's the way, that's
okay,
why
that's your
salaried
opinion
employees
of it, it's
go.
not mine.
I worked many 56-hour weeks that I didn't get paid for.
That's your opinion.
I mean, I just don't want to see a huge,
So I think 15 needs to be adjusted or removed. I'm not sure which it is.
Well, in my experience, when people have that opportunity, they actually take less time than they've earned, as they say, because of their commitment to the job. I mean, that's just my experience. But, I mean, I tend to think it will not be abused.
But keep in mind, we're approving it here, which is going to be considered by MINP as an automatic. Okay?
I mean, if we're gonna do it for one, we should do it for all.
Well, but you can't do that because we haven't even approved
I know, I'm just saying in general.
Okay, discussing the hours of work, then we just go back to whatever is there hours of work in this contract?
But we were never allowed to accumulate comp time.
Did you have
No, you
a
just
cap?
No, we
No,
worked
so there is no such thing.
zero. At the end of our 80-hour pay period, you got paid for 80 hours. If you put in 90 or 100 hours that 2 weeks,
Yeah.
that's the way it was.
Okay, so in Mike's contract, it says, "The regular work week shall be Monday through Friday, and the normal hours of work shall be 8 hours per day, 40 hours per week, except as otherwise approved by the city council. Employees may be required to attend city council, committee, commission, or other meetings outside of their normal working hours."
And get paid for it?
Nope, doesn't say that.
Well, what does the approval of the council have to do with it then?
Yep.
If they would come and say, well, you know what, we lost, a staff member quit, and it's determined that it's going to take us, 5 more hours a week.
Right.
They could come in and the city council could say, we'll approve this for this time frame, and that's it. So then you're always aware.
And we should have done it
Overtime, right, Marcia?
a while back.
No, we're talking comp time because
Oh,
it's salary.
giving comp time and,
Yeah.
okay.
No, that's just extra pay.
We just took this section here, hours of work, and put it in there, and I think you got it covered.
Could you just say, upon approval of the council?
That's what it says. It says in here, it says, as otherwise approved by the city council. So it would have to come before the city council if any comp time was issued.
Well,
If you look, but it's under Article 5 or 6 maybe, and it's Section 1 hours. It states what the hours are. On page 3.
Marcia's looking at Mike's
Page 3.
contract.
On page 3, on Mike's contract. Do you have that?
I don't want to look at that. We've gone through it.
I'm saying that.
We've had enough
This is
grief
going to
there.
help you. This is going to help you because this is exactly what Mike's
Well,
contract said.
it may be, but then frame that and send it as a suggestion to Susan as a review this contract, and we remove 15 and put that in its place.
Why don't we just do that?
What's your opinion, Dave, is, you're talking with city staff and personnel and whatever, what are you thinking? What's your vibe that you're getting?
I don't have a problem with comp time. If it gets abused, then there could be a problem with it. But I think
That,
It should be council approved, or you think Lori should run it?
council approval, I don't know that we need to answer that right now. I definitely think Susan should look at the contract.
But that needs to be a suggestion.
I think the hours of work should be just put in there.
I agree to that.
And we're not saying they can't have comp time, they just got to come and give us a reason for it,
Yeah.
and then we approve it.
Yes.
I agree to that. Now, okay.
So technically, what we're talking about is tabling this till the 8th and give Susan a chance to review it and come back to us.
I would have thought
With the
that's,
salary, I want to see the pay scale. I haven't seen any pay scale.
that's on the first page.
Pushing this off any further.
Why?
I'm just telling you, you are.
Well, you know, it's too bad.
Based upon.
David, it's a legal contract. It has to go through our attorney.
We could hold off number 15 and approve it upon approval from Susan Hanson that she agrees with.
So,
Well, isn't that what we're waiting for, Dave? We're gonna have Susan look at it and then we'll approve it?
Meeting on the 1st of November.
we're not adding anything to that, remember?
We're not having a meeting?
No, we're not adding to it.
We're not adding anything to that agenda. I think that was one of your things.
Not adding.
Okay, so why can't we just plop in hours of work, section 1, into 15, and be done with it?
No.
Instead of paying an
Can't
attorney
vote for that. I'm
to
sorry.
do what we want.
Well, don't we want our lawyer to look at it?
Only thing I have a problem with is number 15.
All right.
That's where I'm holding off.
I mean, we've always said that. for
And a
all of
review by
contracts.
our attorney.
So you can approve it subject to attorney approval. If she approves it, then it's
Right.
done.
Right.
We want
Then
we
you don't
want
need to see it
Susan,
again.
we want Susan to know that this is what we want. We want section 1 hours out of Mike's contract plopped into 15.
Do all of you agree with that?
I
All
agree
five
with
of you?
that. I mean, I have no problem with comp time, just let us know. That's the one where it says upon city council approval, comp
Yeah.
time for upon city council
We're
approval.
not taking comp time. They don't have comp time. We're not taking anything away, and we're not saying they can never have it.
It's just this.
Section Article 6.
It's just saying upon city approved, comp time approved by the city council.
Yeah.
That's all we're saying.
Then you avoid the abuse. You got control and just.
Yeah, that's fine. And then upon subject to approval of this labor attorney.
Yeah, okay, I agree to that.
I agree. I just, important that we tentatively pass it or approve it based upon approval from Susan.
On both her part and.
Going to make a motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. You're going to add to that motion contingent on attorney approval, correct?
And the change of the hours of work
language.
and no comp.
Correct.
It should probably say employee and attorney, because she needs to approve that change as well. She has that right.
Yep.
Ready to vote?
Yep.
Sandy?
Yes?
Marcia?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Dave? Yes. Aaron? Yes. Motion carries.
So never mind.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yep.
Any other
Make
questions?
a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.